New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Hello, welcome back. It's wonderful to have you all here today. I am Reverend Sherry Johnson, the host of Global Focus today, and I have a bonus today. We got a twofer, and they are two really cool people. The first one I want to introduce is Yankee. He is not a minister, but boy does he minister. He is a musician, and I'm not going to read you his whole bio, but I'm going to tell you some really cool stuff about him. And he's a musician, he's a conductor, he's a composer, he's the person who founded and produces the New Thought Music Festival. But I got to tell you, my favorite thing is in his bio, when he says the instruments he says Al plays saxophones, flutes, clarinets, recorders, and keyboards. He doesn't just play one. He plays any one of them you want to bring him, and he can play apparently more than one at a time. So he is just a fascinating person. You're going to learn all about him in just a couple of minutes. And the other guest we have today is a returning guest. She's been here twice before, and she never wears the same hat twice, and that's one of the things I love about her. And it's Reverend Jeanne Kataoka. She's a former journalist and newspaper columnist. She's had all kinds of jobs: preschool teacher, elementary school music teacher, operations manager for a small printing company. She does animal ministry. She does all kinds of cool stuff. But what she's here about today is music. She grew up listening to big band, classical, and rock and roll music, just like me. She played piano since about the age of 6 and guitar since she was 11. Now, I got to tell you, guitar is impressive, but piano has always blown me away because you've got 2 hands and 2 feet, and all 4 of them are doing something different. And what comes out as a result is amazing. So please help me welcome Reverend Jeanne Kataoka and Yankee, who are the co-hosts of Real Conversations on New Thought Media Network. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me.
Good morning.
Thank you for those introductions.
Well, I want to just start at the top, because the whole idea of Real Conversations just tickles me. So I want to know, whose idea was it? How to get started? How do you do it? Tell me about what it is and where it came from and where it's going now. And you can take turns, or you can just interrupt each other, whatever suits.
Like we do. Actually, it was my idea, and it was when Reverend Robert Brzezinski was just getting New Thought Media Network up and going, and he said, anybody have any ideas? And I said, well, maybe interviewing New Thought musicians would be cool. And before he and I could actually get together, he jumped on that and he interviewed Gary Lynn Floyd, the fabulous Gary Lynn Floyd.
I love Gary Lynn Floyd.
Yeah. And you'll be pleased. I just got an email from him today, so I feel all special. Made my day. Anyway, so he did that, and then he was getting a little bogged down, so he brought me on board to help. And then he got more bogged down because if you know Reverend Robert, he has big dreams and big ideas, and he has to chase those. And he's always got all his irons in the fire. And he and I happened to interview Al and one of his music partners. And it was right after that he said, "Hey, you and Al want to take this over?" So that's how. But what, a couple of years ago, Al? That
It's almost 3 years now.
is it? Okay, again, time flies. Oh, and then there's those lost years.
Yes, the before times. We started in the before times.
Yes, we did.
Yeah. And then, of course, it was a natural fit because I'd known Jeannie for a long time. We were friends associated with the CSL in Riverside, where I did music for all around 20 years, and where Jeannie took her practitioner training.
I actually visited as a speaker there once a few years ago.
Yes, you did. You were there for a couple of years.
I was getting ready to graduate from ministerial school.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So yeah, we all go way back.
Yeah, and we're all kids. What's that 7 degrees of separation thing?
Yeah.
In New Thoughts, it's usually more like 3.
Yeah, right. Now, if we could just get Kevin Bacon with us.
There we go.
Wouldn't that be cool? Does he do music?
Yes, he does. Yeah.
Well, then there you go.
Yeah, the Bacon Brothers Band.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, then I'll be looking to see that. What's the format of your program? How do you work together? What do you do?
Well, one of us comes up, with someone to contact first, and we both, as lovers and promoters of New Thought music, we have a lot of ideas, so it's never a shortage of that. For me, it was a natural follow-on from the New Thought Music Festival, which was, just a kind of a giant infomercial for New Thought music. And so we'll come up with an idea, contact somebody. And then we don't really tell them what we're going to do other than we're going to talk about their music. Then Jeannie and I will we kind of go into study mode, and we kind of we listen to their records, and we pick things that we find interesting to talk about. Sometimes it's their hits, and sometimes it's the deep cuts, the weird album tracks that have something else to show. And everybody likes talking about themselves, so it's never a tough sell.
So I have a friend here in Kansas City. I actually met him at CSL Kansas at a Unity Church in Asheville, North Carolina, back in 1992, and we've bumped into each other in North Carolina, in Virginia, in Arkansas, in Nebraska, in California, and in Kansas City. So if he hasn't been on your show, he needs to be. His name is Greg Tamblyn. And he's exactly the musician you just described. He's hysterically funny. He writes these wonderful songs, and he's written a couple of books too, by the way. I have everything he's ever published. And then every now and then, and they're the kind of songs that make you go, laugh till tears run down your face. And then you go, oh. Except for one. He has a song called Stand Like a Mountain, Move Like Water. And it's about an Asian refugee. Mm. And it is so, I get God bumps remembering the song. It's so powerful. Mm. But if he hasn't been on your show, oh my goodness, look him up. He's got Facebook and everything else, and get him on there and let me know when so I can see it.
Well, that is a good call. I know Greg's name, so he's been on the periphery of my awareness.
He's hysterically funny. He's all heart. He's just a really, really great guy. And you'll enjoy chatting with him, and you'll love researching his music. Well, I didn't mean to get in here and do a commercial for somebody else. So tell me, what have you learned in doing this, what you've been doing for almost 3 years now, besides a lot about musicians?
One of the things that is great, of course, is, and you just illustrated that, learning about people that you aren't aware of. I know I've brought some that Jeannie is like, who? I guess that'll be fine. And she certainly pulled people out of a rabbit hole or out of a hat or something, One of the ones that I'm particularly proud of bringing to the New Thought community was a band called Daring Greatly. Yeah. It's the Brene Brown quote, but they actually had the band name before that became famous. they weren't really, they weren't playing CSLs or Unity churches or anything like that, but their music was steeped in the philosophy. And when we interviewed the leader of the band, who's actually, it's a family band, and it was the father,
Oh, how cool.
a fellow named Dale Kroom. I mean, it was one of the deepest philosophical discussions I think we've had, because he actually found an audience for somebody he could relate to. So it was really wonderful, and they're still playing around and bringing folks, somebody new to listen to, as well as the people that they already love, is one of the great joys of doing this podcast.
Oh, that's wonderful. So who's your favorite person you've interviewed so far?
Ooh.
I know that's a really tough question, isn't it?
That's a loaded question.
That's a very loaded question, but I'll answer it. And on several, well, all of them have been wonderful, but the one that actually helped me was Karen Drucker, because this was with Reverend Robert, and we were having technical difficulties. I think there was something going on with my microphone, or I don't remember what it was, but just before we were going to record, it wasn't happening. And she so graciously said, "You know what? I'm going to get off." And I think we did it via Zoom at that time. And I'm going to get off. And when you get it figured out, give me a call back. Well, within 5 minutes, we had it figured out. And I called her back, and she came on, and she was so gracious, and like nothing had happened. Like she just had shown up, and it was, the first time we were getting started. So I would say Karen for that reason, but so many of them, I mean, they've all been so gracious and so appreciative. And, I'm just, like doing a fangirl thing with most of them, because, like Gary Lynn Floyd and Daniel Nahmod, and, we could go on and on and on with the names, but they've just all been wonderful people to talk to. And it's just,
that surprised me.
No, I mean, it does and it doesn't, because you hear about people that are famous, and, but yeah, they're all.
I think the thing that I have found wonderful about New Thought musicians is that I love music, and I admire the ability and the skill that they have, because among other things, because I don't have it, and because I get to share it. But one of the things that I find really remarkable about New Thought musicians, and you're reinforcing it for me now, is that they practice what they preach, and they preach what they sing. They are ministers who sing their talks. That's all there is to it. There's no way to not. I mean, in the New Thought music field, that's what it is, and that just warms my heart. That makes my grandma heart happy. So, have you had any big surprises when you got someone on your show?
I think, and I guess this might have been again with Reverend Robert. We did Kelly Corsino, and it was just at kind of, I think it was during the pandemic, but I think it was early on, and she came on, and early before we started to record, and she was very, very frightened, because apparently there were protests and demonstrations and going on near her home. And, as we all remember, a lot of stuff happened then, and she was just afraid of what might be going to happen. And she was thinking maybe she should get out of the area. And she was just genuinely frightened. And we said, well, you do what, we can reschedule if that's what you want. And we'll do, whatever you need is fine with us. And she said, no, I'm starting to feel okay talking to the two of you, and I'll stay. And she was very stalwart. She got into it, and it was like, nothing had bothered her at the beginning. So to see that kind of courage, because I can't, if it was right out, and I don't know how close it was to her home, but I'm imagining, maybe down the block or something, which would be very scary. Mm-hmm. So I was really impressed. But I think Reverend Sharri, it's kind of like what you said, that they walk their talk and talk their walk, and I think that's what she did. She pulled some strength from within and went forward.
I'd like to pipe in with one that just occurred to me while you were talking, Jeannie, which is we had a major technical snafu that was handled so graciously. We interviewed Jamie Lula. Um, oh yes, one of our beloveds,
Oh yeah.
and you know, it was a wonderful interview, and it went very well. And through the wonders of the digital universe, it disappeared. It just left. It was just not to be found in, you know, on anybody's computer, online, anywhere. And we had to go back and redo it.
Oh,
As if we had never done it in the first place. You know, a little bit of showbiz there.
wow.
And Jamie was absolutely gracious about it. And we asked him, you know, very similar questions, and he came up with very similar answers, but it was all as if it was all brand new. And I can't say enough nice things about his heart.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's marvelous. I like that. So, you told me how you got into doing this, but why? I mean, what makes you two people want to do this thing together with people you've never met before, or people you have met before, or people you don't know anything about, or people you know a lot about?
Well, one of the things is that it does give you an opportunity to meet and talk with people you've always wanted to meet and talk with. You know, one of the performers that I always wanted to get for the New Thought Music Festival, I just couldn't because of logistics and distance and busy schedules and all that, was Reverend Dr. Michael Gott. You know, yeah, and I've been a big fan for years. One of the most beautiful voices and heartfelt, you know, deliveries, and finally got to at least get him on Real Conversations and spend an hour talking to him. And what a wonderful experience that is.
Oh, yeah. I met him once. Well, I met him several times when I was in ministerial school because he was the senior minister of one of my classmates. So he came to a lot of stuff. But I met him once by myself. I wrote a couple of prayer books, and I was doing a book signing at a Unity conference, and I was volunteering in the bookstore. And so I'm unpacking books and unpacking books and unpacking books, and he walks in with Megan McDonough. And I had no idea who she was. I turned around and I went, oh, I was like I was 13. Oh, you sing my favorite song in the whole world. And he, being the soul of graciousness, said, thank you. And she wrote it. And I just went, you know, I was just completely dumbfounded. And I can imagine, you know. So here's my next question. It wasn't in any of the information you gave me, so I'm curious about it. Do you ever get him to sing on your show, or do you just talk about singing and why they do it?
Well, the format of the show is that we talk about their music and then we play their music.
Okay.
So that's the way it works. And so, especially because sometimes the music we play many of the familiar things to a New Thought audience, but we also play some things that are unfamiliar, you know, that might show a different side or a different thought. And honestly, I don't remember exactly everything we used of Michael's, but he's a Broadway kid, you know, he's a show guy. So I'm sure we played, and he told stories about playing in a lounge. I remember he talked about, when Billy Joel came and sat in with him because he happened to be in the lounge that night. You get these great stories that you wouldn't normally hear.
No.
Yeah. And I think having that format, you know, because that's among the first things I tell them, you know, would you like to come on this podcast? You don't have to perform. So, and because ours is only audio, I say you can show up in your pajamas and nobody will care. So, you know, we immediately try to put them at ease. And I think that helps too, that, you know, and then the sound quality, depending on stuff, you know, it might not be what people are used to hearing. And as my son used to say as a little guy, that's not how it goes. You know? So you go, oh, you know, it didn't sound as good. So we don't want to deal with that. We want them to always sound their best. So we generally don't have them sing during the recording.
But you play professional recordings of them singing, which is even better.
Sure. Yeah. Like, and one of my favorites, and I can't remember the name of it and I'm kicking myself, but Stogood has a song about being ladies of a certain age and having tiny hairs. And that song is hysterical. And so it was so fun to get to get them to talk about that, how it came up, and so that sort of thing. But they didn't have to sing it.
I'm embarrassed that I can't remember the name of it either, because they came to a church I was attending in Lincoln, Nebraska, and did a concert and sang that song.
I'm trying to give you guys a visual cue. It's the Tweezer song.
Tweezer song. That's right. Thanks. Pinch your head. What is it?
Well, I mean, and they're like Greg Tamblyn in that regard, that they do some of the funniest stuff I've ever heard in my life. But when you're done listening to it, you go, oh.
Yeah. Well, and then they're masters songwriters, being from the Nashville scene and all, they're just amazing. And again, here they've been in the big pond of music, and they couldn't be any nicer. And that was kind of an interesting situation, because I had contacted them through their website and didn't hear from them, which isn't uncommon, unfortunately. And then they finally got it, and they said, "Oh, we're so sorry. Is it too late?" And they explained what had happened. They weren't getting the emails through their website, and I said, "No, that's fine. When do you want to be on?" So they were so lovely, and they were so excited, because they do mostly Unity, I think. So to get exposure into CSLs and New Thought in general, they were thrilled, and it showed in the interview that they were just delightful.
So, give us your resume. Who have you interviewed?
Oh gosh.
Well, some people that you know and some people that you don't know. So I'll do one of each, and then maybe Jeanne. I'll give Jeanne a chance to think for a minute. But at least somebody that I didn't know was Claudia Carawan.
Mm.
And she, she was a recommendation. She's done mainly Unity on the East Coast, and I'm out here doing CSLs on the West Coast. So I was just totally unfamiliar with her, and she was a delight. And then Daniel Namod, for somebody you don't know, you probably don't know, and somebody you probably do know.
A couple of people that were surprises to me. One that Al brought in was Darlene Holdenkoven. Yes, I always have to stop and think about her. And her music is amazing. It's not New Thought at all, but she's played with Yanni, and was on the PBS. Was it at the Acropolis special? And Charlie Thweet, who I found out from a friend who is in Unity, and he was a delight. So.
Oh, that's great. So, if you could have anybody you wanted be on your show, who would you pick? Oh, New Thought people. Since you can have anybody you want be on your show, who are you going to recruit?
Well, I have my answer, because it's been he's been a tough get for us, because he started with music, but he's now a revered reverend, and that's David Alt. He was the mentor to get Karen Drucker started, and he sang in Alliance, which was kind of Louise Hay's house band. But for him, that's in the past. It's not what he's doing now. So he's sort of passed on doing that sort of a music-centered interview with us. I'd still like to do it.
Well, yeah. Tell him you want to talk about what he used to do and why he does what he does now.
Yeah. I'd be happy to do it any way he wants.
Ask him to me.
Another one we've been working on getting, though, and Al's been working on him, is Ricky Kej, and a multi-Grammy winner.
Wow.
So yeah, not that we haven't tried, but yeah, so, as I said, sometimes they don't respond for whatever reason, and we know they're busy, and because they're usually trying to promote themselves and make money. We get it. So there's no hard feelings, but we don't get to manifest our dreams sometimes.
So is it your intention to remain audio only, or are you thinking about perhaps going into an interview like this kind of face-to-face format eventually?
I don't know. I had to take a shower and shave this morning. I don't know. I like that pajamas. I mean, or in your robe thing. That's pretty nice.
Well, and because we do edit in, multiple pieces of music, that doing audio only and recording just helps keep it simple.
Well, you can record video. Just saying. Just saying.
Yeah, no, actually we do, because we use Zoom, and of course the video is recorded, but we just haven't gone there.
Right.
Well,
it would be a different show. It really would.
Okay. So here we go. That's the most perfect lead into one of the questions I ask every single guest. You've answered it twice already, Jeannie, or is it 3 times? But you're going to answer it again with respect to this situation. 10 years from now, if everything goes exactly the way you want it to go, every teeny tiny little detail meets exactly what you would like it to do. You wrote the script, you painted the backgrounds, you did it all. What does Real Conversations look like?
Go ahead, Al.
Oh, okay. I think we would be the hologram appearing on your desktop, and doing performances, with musicians piped in from wherever they happen to be in the world.
Oh, that one gave me God bumps. I just love that idea.
Yeah, if you think about where technology might be in 10 years, I mean, think of where it was 10 years ago, and yeah.
Well, when I started my ministerial studies, I had to fly from Virginia to Kansas City to take classes because nobody had online classes. And that was only 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. Well, 25. So I mean, technology changes. That could happen. We could have little things like in Star Wars, the one where Princess Leia suddenly appears talking to him. We could have that. Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah, that would be very cool.
Okay, Jeannie, so what's your answer?
Yeah, I just hit a big number as far as age goes, and I just kind of want to stay here. I don't want to look that far into the future. It's like, oh no, I just want to stay here for a minute or 2 or 10 or a year. Yeah, that'd be good.
Okay, so here's the next question I ask everybody. And you're going to have to think a little bit because it's a little different perspective. What you're doing is a little different perspective from most of the focus ministries. And I still say what you're doing is focus ministry. How does what you do and the way you do it enhance, encourage, promote, pick your verb, conscious evolution? See, that's what most people say, Al.
Yeah, no, because we help promote the music, and music is, the soundtrack of your life. And if you were listening to the New Thought Media Network radio station, you'd be hearing the songs, and you'd be hearing them over and over again. And other than maybe the Tweezer song, they're all just full of wonderful affirmations. So that's certainly, I think we go a long way in promoting that.
One of my distant. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I spoke over you. I apologize. What I was going to say was one of my distant relatives is the poet Sidney Lanier, and one of his famous quotes is that, because he was a musician as well, is that music is love in search of a word. And music speaks to us in so many ways. It speaks through memory, it speaks through emotion, and it can be, so it speaks to the heart and mind simultaneously. So it more so than I think any other art form, we have an immediate visceral response to music. Mm-hmm. And that's, the God bumps moment, like you said. And so, through that forum, we as New Thought musicians and interviewing New Thought musicians, we are able to communicate in a more profound way than I think most other art forms allow.
Wow.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So what you're telling me is that music jumpstarts conscious evolution.
Mm-hmm. That's a good way to put it.
All righty. So here we go. Here's the follow-up question. Again, Jeanne, how does what you do and how you do it promote, encourage, pick your own verb, world peace?
Again, the affirmations and the idea of living life with a positive attitude, thinking of your fellow creatures. I say that because I just worked on a book called Fellow Creatures and Our Obligations to Them. But, that even with animals, we're all in the same boat, and taking care of each other, or as I think it was Ram Dass said, walking each other back home.
And I believe that the World Peace Healing meditation on December 31st, to me, that's a search for the human 100th monkey. You know the story of the 100th monkey, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the search for the 100th monkey. And what makes that possible is that we're all connected at the level of vibration, and that's what music is.
Mm-hmm.
Vibration. So that's wonderful. So if people wanted to support your efforts, how would they go about that?
I believe you might be displaying the link there for the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Real Conversations. Unfortunately, there are many other podcasts with that same name. I did the search myself just to find out. But I think if you put in New Thought Music or Real Conversations Music or something like that in a search, it shows up on New Thought Media Network at that link right there. But it's also on Apple and Amazon and Spotify and all the places that people get their podcasts. So they can search for it very easily in a way that's good for them.
And if they wanted to help support that, how would they go about it?
They would just, there's the idea of tell your friends and all that, word of mouth, and share it, word of mouth or email or text or Instagram or whatever people like to do. And if you're talking about financial support, I would just say support New Thought Media, the network.
So then you just go to ntmedia.org and look for the donate button.
There you go.
Yeah.
All righty. So
Reverend Robert has big dreams. I was just with him up at the CSL Camp Cedar Ridge, and I don't know that they were meant to go public, so I won't say any more than that, but he'd like to have a big event there at the camp at some point. So, supporting New Thought Media Network is a win for everybody.
So just because I'm nosy, tell me who your next guest is going to be.
Looks like it's going to be Gary Lynn Floyd talking about his latest album.
I love him.
Yeah, he's a sweetie.
All right. I once was walking a labyrinth, the old labyrinth, not the new one, at Unity Village, and he was walking it too.
Mm.
And we came up against a corner, and the old one is painted, and it's 35 years old, and it's crumpled. And you had to look at it to figure out which way to go next. And he just went. I went past. He went past. It was really cool. He's a wonderful person. So here's the last question I ask every single person who comes on my show. Will you come back?
Only if you ask.
All right. So here's the thing. I'm nobody's dummy. I got the calendar right here. And the first date I have open, I believe, hold on, hold on. I hit the wrong button, so I need to do this one. The first date is February. I think it's February of next year. Let me make sure. It might be March. But I playing ahead. It is February 20, 2024. Can I pencil you in?
Sure.
Yay!
I'm speaking for Jeannie.
I don't have my phone with me at the moment, but sure. But I am afraid your guests are going to get tired of seeing my face. So.
Oh, I don't think so. I don't think there's any chance at all of that happening. And from you either, Al, people come back and folks say, when is so and so coming back? So it's going to happen. And what tickles me is you've never said the same thing twice, Jeanne. There's always something new and wonderful going on to talk about, and I love being here to provide a place for you to do it. So thank you so very much. And next week, folks, be sure to come back next week. We have another returning guest, Reverend Dr. Brock Ford, whose Brock Ford Life Ministries, working with the homeless, is and in a new field he didn't realize he was going to be working in, which is diversity, is really exciting. So join us next week, please. And thank you again so much for being with me this week. Bye-bye.
Amazing, amazing, you will do amazing